All you parents out there,
Realize something, Mommy. Please.
Realize you're interrupting.
I know, but I'm trying to tell you something. I'm trying to tell you something about her interrupting. What you were dealing with right here are the two archetypes of how I will respond to a parent like that. You will have the one that gets bulldoggy and aggressive and interrupts with such tremendous invective because she's trying to be heard, and you will have the one who doesn't say anything. Mm-hmm. So now you can wrap it up, because I wanted to make sure that you understood that you've got type A and type B.
I was the one that wanted to get in the room and fight it out, and I'm swaying in my relationships. I want to sit down and over-communicate and talk about my feelings and talk about it. Ashley will go off somewhere to another realm and stay till she knows it's safe to come back. Each child will... In an alcoholic family, there's one child who will obviously go to try to save the parent, and one who will just completely, ditch the scene. I mean, there's something in all families that is very similar. And in our family, you and I were the fighters, and Ashley would just go into her room and read her books or do whatever.
And both of those, by the way, are honorable, because it is that person's composition. It's who they are. It's how they are, and it's how they deal.
We talked in the script of the motivational tape about how personalities are formed early on within the family structure as the siblings jockey for their position. So if Wynonna was the firstborn and she already was feisty and verbal and edgy, and then you came on the scene, that character was already cast. So you became the introverted, introspective. Am I right here?
Well, I think introverted isn't the right word. Introspective is correct.
That's right. I used the wrong word. I was actually not so much thinking of you, as because you always had such a strong sense of who you were. But can you talk a little bit about how children form their personalities based in that dynamic of jockeying for a position? And
well, I had years on Ashley. By the time she came along, I had established my boundaries. And for me, watching my own children, it's very obvious to me that a firstborn claims first. And the secondborn has to really fight for that positioning. And it's inevitable that Grace is going to have to take something from Elijah, because he's already claimed it. So she spends a lot of her time, and I watch it every day, going over and either taking it away from him or finding something else to play with. She's got a choice to make. And I think this is why you've become so independent, was because I was so external and so bossy and so claiming what was, I thought, rightfully. And that's what's interesting. They're both kids are right. You are the firstborn, but yet you're taught to share, but you don't like it. And the secondborn has to realize that they have to fight for what they have. And that is something that I'm hip to now that I have my own children. And I want each to know that they're special, that they both are miracles, and that they're children of God. But I have to be sensitive to both children, because they both matter in that situation. It's hard for me not to take the toy away from Elijah and give it to Grace, because that's my desire for her.
I just try to do it sequentially with them. And my, of course, approach of reasoning is
by two of everything.
Genuinely beyond Elijah most of the time. But you know how it is. Grace is playing with something. 5 minutes ago, he had no interest in it, because she's now riding that particular tricycle. He's going to die if he doesn't have it immediately. And I say to him, when your sister's done, then it will be your turn. And that works for me, because I know that that's reasonable. He doesn't necessarily compute it, but he will someday. So that's what I try to do with him. Mm-hmm. And what I want to add to what you were saying about staking the claim and whatnot is that I think it's important for each child to be encouraged externally and internally to exploit their own natural resources, because everyone does have their own personality, their own predilections and strengths. And if you encourage and give that child a benediction for who and what they are, then it all works out.
Thank you. That's key. So we're encouraging parents and all the family members to understand, and we've known this in psychology for a long time, birth order plays a very significant role in personality development.
There was a story in the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times recently about how most CEOs are second children.
Interesting.
And of course, one would assume that it's firstborn alpha children, but there was something about being conciliatory and accommodating, as well as having the tremendous ambition and whatnot.
And the desire to prove oneself is so obvious in our family that we each have to find our own place. I just want also, too, to say that how important it is for a person, again, to feel valued. And last night, Arch had been gone all day with the children, and he came home, and Elijah was really... And I sort of got frustrated with Arch because he hadn't had a nap. Well, they'd been playing, and they'd had such a great day. And instead of saying, but I really appreciate the fact that you took them out today and gave me some free time to be by myself, I got on to him because Elijah was fussy and wanted to have a nap. And I could just see the look on Arch's face, like the energy just went, like I had just dropped him on his head kind of thing. And later on I realized it, and I said, I didn't validate you in one way and took it away from you in so many other ways that I forgot the key point, which was, I appreciate you of all taking the children out today to give me time. And I think it's real important for family members to, even when you're so mad at somebody, you can't even them, to remember that they're valued. That's something that I've missed out on a lot.
This is exactly why I am an optimist. Exactly why I feel so safe with my sister. I know that if even at that particular moment she doesn't have a point of view, I trust her to come around to it. I know with you, you just gave the perfect example. Arch, you're annoyed. You think about it, and you go back and you say, you know what? It was legitimate for me to be annoyed about that particular thing.
Well, I was looking at Elijah, right?
But by the way, thank you for all of that. I that's why I feel so safe with you. You know, if we're talking about something, whether it's politics or nudity in movies or whatever, if you're harsh with me for a while, I know that you'll always be.